All right, everybody, brand new day here. We're gonna go ahead and get the rest of those post bases out and get our sealer down. And again, that's gonna sit for 24 to 48 hours to cure. So we're gonna get that rolled on here. We got a couple decent days where it shouldn't rain too much. And I'll show you what I got, and we'll go over some of the things with that. I just gotta grab a bit here in order to get the remaining screws out for the post bases. We'll pop those out, and then we should be all ready to go ahead and get our sealer down. Okay, so we have some 12mm heads. I'm gonna clean some of this up and get to it. But yeah, we got some 12mm heads around. This one is loose. We're just gonna have to pry it up. You can see head snapped on that guy, but I don't think that should be too much of a problem. We will bring out the post bases that we did get and just kind of see where those line up. But yeah, so we're gonna get these last couple out. We got this one fully out, so we'll go ahead and do that right now. And of course, we have one flathead instead of same bolt as everything else. So, you know, we got all the other ones. That's our last one. All the heads broke off on a lot of these. So we're going to take a grinder and kind of get those flat. We'll clean this up because, you know, we pressure washed yesterday. Got it all prepped. So we want to get that stuff all cleaned up pretty well. Might just take regular hose to it and get that all cleaned up before we get started putting on our sealer. But yeah, time to figure out getting this guy out of here. We might just have to grind him out. And we'll go from there. Bang! All right, so we got that off, got those ground down kind of as best we can. So yeah, we are good to go, and we'll kind of clean it up here, and then we'll start getting our sealer on. Okay, so now that we've got that cleared up, we're just gonna kind of lay out. This is our ABA 44Z Simpson Strong Type post base for 4x4s. You can see, you know, we can screw in here. Normally, if you're sitting concrete, you can do an anchor bolt. We could still technically do that, but I don't have a big enough hammer drill or anything to go ahead and do that. So we have some concrete screws we're going to go ahead and throw in to kind of anchor that into here. And then we'll just screw in our post on the sides here. There's 6 holes. Once we get those in, but I just want to lay this here, check our, you know, grinding, make sure we're, you know, relatively level. It's going to be a little bit out of whack just because of, you know, any previous work on the slabs. It's a good bit off, as you can see. Not too bad, just a little bit. But yeah, so that's what we're going to use instead. And a little bit ugly, they'll stand out a little bit, but you know, kind of the only solution at this point with pre-existing and with that one breaking on us. So we'll just use these guys and put our posts in that way. But now, yeah, we're gonna go ahead, clean up, and get ready to put down our sealer. By the way, I do want to say I'm by no means a, you know, construction professional or anything like that. I'm just doing it to the best of the ability that I know. You know, growing up on a farm and doing stuff, you kind of do everything yourself. And I've worked for a building material supplier for about 4 years now. So, you know, learned a lot as far as, you know, building and what goes into a building, quoting and estimating those and different products and stuff. So, you know, if there's a better way or anything, feel free to let me know. But, yeah, you know, just doing it to the best of our ability and trying to make a nice job. So, you know, just want to throw that out there. But, yeah, so I got all the way back up here and I forgot the broom. We're going to go get cleaned up here, and then I'll walk you through doing the sealer and what we picked out, why we picked it out, and everything like that. Okay, so we didn't hose it down because I forgot this does need to be completely dry before we do anything. Got a couple drills here we're going to pull up out of the way, and we will move our power hub here. So as far as products, we went with Zinsser. I don't know why I struggle to say that, but this is Dryguard. They also have I believe it's called Watertight instead of Dryguard. The reason we went with this one instead of the other one, because this is white, whereas I think the other one was clear, just what they had. This one, it's mainly about water pressure, right? So I don't really need to worry about paying a little bit of extra money for watertight versus dry guard. Not that it's like a couple dollar difference, but I don't have any direct water pressure, so I'm not really that worried about it. This will get us a good seal. We're going to do 2 coats actually. We can see it looks like they might have had some stuff down before, but we're just going to reseal it. That we've washed it, scraped it, and everything. Just make sure we're all good to go whenever we go to put down our adhesive. Make sure no moisture is coming up through the concrete and getting into the carpet or anything like that. So we just want to make sure it's all sealed real nice and just avoid any issues down the line. I mean, it's an outdoor carpet, so, is what it is, but we just want to do the best that we can. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead and move that guy, and we're going to get started rolling this on. Okay, so we have our dry guard. We're going to go ahead and seal the concrete now. I don't really know if it needs to be mixed. It probably says somewhere on here, but I figured it's similar to a paint, so probably just bad practice to go ahead and mix it. We're going to use our brush for some of our corners and edges, especially down here in the stairs where it's going to be a little bit hard to get with a roller. And I'm probably going to do along the sides here, just so I don't get it dripping, especially in the fish pond over there. And I don't want it to drip real easy, which might be a little easier to do with a roller versus a brush. So we're going to go ahead and mix this. We're going to start off top there, and then we'll just work our way around. And we'll do a little time lapse, kind of speed things up, and we'll get this on here. Okay, so we have the first coat on. Everything's kind of good, as you can see. Some spots are lighter than others. Really, have some areas with some big old wet paint. Just really want to seal those, divots in the concrete, those pits, because that's where air is going to get trapped and maybe a little bit of moisture and stuff. You can kind of see them all over the place, right? So do our best to cover them. Anything we missed, we can always catch up in the second coat. Don't really, need to worry about this looking even. You see this brighter patch here. This is all getting covered. So, we just want to seal it. And then we'd have the adhesive going over it. But we'll do a second coat. You can see it just got all the outside edges. Basically, anywhere where the carpet's going to go, that's where we're putting this along with the adhesive whenever we get to it. So, yeah, pretty good. We're going to let that dry, and then we will apply a second coat. Bang! Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get the second coat up here. Put a little bin here for the mail. Again, a lot of this stuff takes 24 to 48 hours, has to sit, can't get on it. The same is going to be whenever we put the adhesive on. That carpet has to sit for about 24 to 48 hours. Can't have anybody on it, so hence all the caution tape, make sure nobody climbs up on it, falls, whatever. Just kind of keep people off it. So yeah, we're going to mix this up, get ready, and we're going to do the same thing we just did earlier and go ahead and get a second coat on, and we should be done with this. All right, everybody, and we're on to another evening. We're going to go ahead and try and get the adhesive or the sealer sanded. As you can see, weather's not looking so great. Hasn't been for the last couple days. We did leave it sit for a couple days, and so we're going to go ahead and sand it. Now, we do have a couple things. So I just have a palm sander. We're going to clean out the bag just to get it ready. And then we have some 80 grit sandpaper. I wasn't really too particular about brand or anything, right? Just needed some 80 grit. A little bit rougher, kind of get that scuffed up so we can go ahead and put the adhesive on. Gonna have to do a little bit of prep work, mainly around the fish pond to try and catch some of that. I don't know what I'm gonna do for that, just that side, really, just so we don't have all this stuff flying off and going into there. But we're going to go ahead, get prepped, get ready to go, get up front, and we'll get started. Okay, so we're going to go ahead, get everything here. You will see I've covered up the straight address sign, which you may have seen a really ugly square showing up in the last video. Took like an extra hour and a half, 2 hours to edit out, so I've gone ahead and covered it. You're going to see a little bit more of it earlier in the video for today, where we applied the sealer. But we're going to go ahead, hook up our extension cord here. This is a little old habits die hard. I always just do a little loop, knot with my cables, just make sure they don't come undone as I'm pulling on them. We're going to get started here, but I have the feeling we're about to get rained on. Some drops are coming down. But we're going to try and get this done, and we're going to run a time lapse as we go ahead and sand through here, and we will get started and see how we do. Okay, so we got done sanding here. It's actually starting to rain, so this is perfect timing. We can kind of head in the garage and work on some of the spindles, but as you can see, it looks kind of dirty-ish now. You can feel it's not quite super duper smooth, which is exactly what we want. We want a little bit of adherence for the adhesive so that that can stick on, so we get a good grip on that and that our carpet can grip well. Actually didn't have any issue over here sanding. Was able to, it wasn't blown as much as I thought it would. So even with an 80 grit, so just kind of did this edge, didn't really need to cover it up. Nothing was getting down into the water really. Just, it was kind of blowing back under the concrete into the rocks a little bit. But yeah, we're gonna clean this up and we're gonna do some of that wood gluing for a couple of the spindles that broke. We had 2 pieces break. One didn't break off all the way completely. Another one, we got a chip out of it from pulling it off. It was screwed in instead of nailed like the rest of them. So we're gonna go ahead, get a little bit of wood glue on those and clamp those. The one we might not be able to clamp with the chipwood, we can clamp that one down, let that sit and dry, and that should help us for whenever we go to sand those. Before we prep those, we'll end up sanding these posts, you know, before we go ahead and paint those. Doesn't really need it, as you can see, kind of darker, smooth, right? Not any peeling or anything, so we don't really have a whole ton that we need to do with that. But I like to do it anyways, especially since it's going to be exposed to the elements. We want that paint to have the best chance it can to adhere and stick, stay in place, and not come off. So yeah, let's head into the garage and we'll get started on the wood gluing. Yep, it's my favorite cup. Okay, so got a little bit of coffee brew. And we're going to go ahead and grab these 2 pieces that a little bit of work to do on. And I don't have like a nice little work table or anything. I just have big fold-out tables. And everything's a little bit cluttered right now, and I'm going to need to leave these sit, so I don't want to take up too much space. Speaking of which, my coffee's in the way. Okay. So we are going to go, if you didn't watch the last episode, this one I didn't show, but you will see we do have a little bit of a chunk that broke out. Now, it is pretty good in shape. You know, we're not too worried about, you know, this crack line here. We're not going to see that once we paint and go over that. And we're going to try and just get some wood glue in here, fill it, and get a clamp. Little adjustable clamp here, which I believe might actually be in my toolbox, and I'm going to need to grab that. But we're going to do that, and then this guy's going to be a little bit trickier. I'm going to be careful here because I don't want to break it apart. But you will see it did start to break a little bit. So I want to try and get a little bit just kind of back in there under it, kind of push it back in place. And it's strong enough, it'll just hold itself. I don't really need to clamp that, nor do I have a great way to clamp that. So we're going to just try and get those set up. That way those guys are ready. And then we just have the big glorious pile of spindles to sand through. Ignore the UV light, that's for the fish pond, keeping fishies clean. Or the fish pond clean. So yeah, we're going to go ahead, let's get our wood glue. Now, I did go with some Titebond. Sold a lot of this. This is the Titebond Ultimate. This is for exterior and interior use. The Titebond wood glue, I think it's a red label. That's just for interior use. I think there's also a blue label and stuff. But we just went with the Ultimate. It's going to be exterior, you know, we'll make sure we're good. I know this stuff works. You know, a lot of builders that have used it. So we're going to use this guy, try and get these things in here. And before I do this, let's get our clamps out, because I just want to get these glued together and then leave them sit for a little bit here. What we got in the box of goodies. It's like Mickey's Mouse Tool, you know, Hermione Granger's bag if you're a Harry Potter fan. It's got all kind of stuff. So we're just gonna need the one clamp. It's a pretty big clamp, but that's fine. Work with what we got. So I think I want to do this piece first just because it's going to be the easiest to do. So I don't know if they put a seal in here. I've never actually opened one up. There we go. No seal. So just a twist, squeeze, apply, and yeah, just lift up. And now we don't want to do too much because it'll squeeze out the sides, but we want to make sure we get, you know, plenty in there so that it does hold. And I will try and get a little bit back in where that screw hole was, just to kind of fill that a little bit. I want to make sure I also get this edge, right, because that's where it can just potentially re-break and peel. And it's going to run out. Okay. Then we just want to get this right in place. Give her a little squeeze. And we can wipe up some excess. It's probably going to use a little bit more, you know, as we go along. However, better to have a little bit more extra on there than not. If you don't get enough in there, you're not going to be able to keep it held together or anything. And like I said, this is all getting covered up, so it doesn't need to be super pretty. We just want to make sure that holds and everything stays in place, helps us bring it together. Right there, nice and good. Okay. And I'm going to have a little bit more surface area to go across, so that's just the way we're going to do it here. Now, the one thing you see, it's poking up, and this is a stair rail, hence the angle cut. So we can't have that. We need to have that pretty flush. So we need to get that down a little bit, which where it's broken might not line up perfectly. So we can always, you know, take that palm sander, sand it down a little bit more, get it level. You know, we can work that out a little bit. Just, again, just making sure we get it as best placed as possible before this glue all sets and we leave it sit. We just want to get a nice even press all the way across that. Figure out how to keep that up. Ta-da! Ah, I'm a magician. Okay. Let's see if we can get a little bit in this guy. And then I think that should be it. And we're going to let this sit. And then we'll be ready to sand these guys down. Again, I just want to do it. Just give the paint the best chance to succeed and stick in place. All right, that's super important, especially on exterior applications where you have all the elements, you know, the wind, the rain, where you might see a lot of paint peeling. Also depends on, you know, the conditions you're painting in, right? If you're painting in direct sunlight and it's hot, you know, you have a much higher chance for that paint to just start peeling over time. And will do, right? Seen that on my parents' barn many times over the years where we've repainted and repainted, and just the one side is really difficult through most of the times in the day. It's just always going to get a little bit of sunlight. So that's really difficult to do. But we do our best, you know. Like I said, we can paint all this stuff in here, get it all prepped, because we're going to build our railings. I'll put a screenshot or part of the video where you can see the rail and how it was. We don't have quite enough room to get a drill under there to put this railing together in place. So we're going to have to prefab these sections together in here, take them up, slot them into place. And that's going to be making sure our cuts are nice and on point. Because if they're not, we're going to have a little bit of a difficult time. I'm going to go ahead, get this guy in here. We are going to have a decent bit of excess on this guy. Try and get a little bit of it off so it doesn't make a huge mess. But I don't mind if a little bit sits on this one because we can't really get it inside. So even if we have a little bit along the outside edge where it's cracked, that might be, good enough for us to hold. Nice and gentle. And then we're going to leave them sit. So, in short of, having a shorter episode, we may want to kind of start sanding all these spindles now while, man, it's coming down. Not super bad, but coming down pretty good. Look at the sun. Say look at the view, but there's a garage right there. But wow, it's a beautiful evening. A little warm, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, so instead of having just a super short episode, we can make the use of our time, right? I do have a full-time job, so working in the evenings, and it's supposed to rain pretty much all week, in the evenings and mornings. So I want to try and get as much done as we can to keep the project moving along. We don't want it to take forever. It is a hazard not having the railings up, and it's a little bit inconvenient. So we just want to try and keep things moving along here. So we're going to go ahead. I might set up one of the bigger tables, and we're going to go ahead and get all this sanded, and that way those are prepped, and hopefully here in the near future we can get all those painted, right, have all those ready, and then it's going to come down to crunch time to digging into our lumber and getting those cuts done, because we may end up doing that before we put the carpet on. If the weather keeps up with the way it's looking it's going to, we're not going to be able to put the carpet in if it's raining like this. We need to keep it dry, have good surfaces to adhere to and everything, and I'm going to be running all around, making my cuts, making sure everything's tight, making sure we don't have any air bubbles underneath. So we may end up just getting into building the railing first before we get the concrete up. So yeah, let's go ahead and get these guys sanded, and I think that might be it for today. So let's see where it goes. Bang! Okay, so we're a little bit more organized now. So we have 30 of the porch railings, plus the one that has been wood glued. We have 5 guys of stair railings, and it's going to use a little cleaned up, plus the 6th one that we have wood glued. So we're going to go ahead and get all these guys sanded down. We're going to be using some 150 grit, very, very smooth, doesn't need to be a whole lot. Again, just to try and scuff it up a little bit. That way we can paint. I mean, you can see whether due to weather or a previous paint job, not super consistent color. Things are just fading and everything, which is going to happen over time. But, you see some of it's just only prime still. So we want to just get this a nice, real good protective layer to try and preserve this a little bit longer so we can reuse these. Add a little bit of depth to the porch railing itself. I do have some ideas for the railing. We're not just going to be using 2x4s for the top, so we're going to do a couple things there. But yeah, we're going to go ahead, get our sandpaper on. Might go through a few sheets. I have some extras. And we're going to go ahead and get all these guys scuffed up, set the completed over here, and let's get working through these, and they'll be all prepped and ready for painting. Bang! Okay, so we are about halfway done. Remember how I said I had extra? Well, turns out I don't. But as you can see, working nicely with the 120, just getting a nice light scuff, not scruff. We don't care about scruff. Nice little scuff all along this paint here. Just give us a little something to adhere to whenever we do the paint. I am going to go back through because I have all these little sheets from excess from the size. I didn't really pay attention to the size whenever I got it. So I have all these little sheets. So I'm going to go through, get all these real curved ends that can't do real well. Touch up a couple spots. I'll use up what I have of that. Nothing goes to waste here. And my brother and his wife are actually going to be saving the day because they are on the way to a place right now where we can get some more of this. Hopefully, I was looking, it looks like they might be out of stock. So I'm hoping that's not the case. Fingers crossed. Really hoping that's not the case. But, yeah, hopefully they can come through, make the impossible possible, and we can finish this up tonight. And now that it's done raining, we can go ahead and let's actually take a little walk up to the posts, see if those aren't too soaked. We may actually just get those posts sanded while we're at it. Fingers crossed on that. That's not too big of a deal though tonight. Really, this is the big chunk where we have a lot of pieces and we want to get those sanded while we have some time. Get that kind of done and out of the way. Let's take a look. We have... Yeah, it's not really wet or anything, so we might be able to just pop out here, get these bad boys sanded. We'll get our caution tape off here. We do have a couple like screws and stuff still poking out, and some nails and stuff tied up and everything. So we're gonna clean that up anyways. Train's coming apparently, but yeah, we'll kind of get that all taken care of tonight. So that's one less thing that we have to worry about. And then all the sanding's done. So then everything's ready to go, ready to be painted. We can go ahead and do all that. That would be awesome if we could have that ready to go. And yeah, I will actually show you. So everything was done in green. We picked out some new paint. I don't have the paint sample out here, but we can show you what we got. Very excited for this color. So as you can see, real quick, we'll just kind of poke over. So we have kind of like a, zoom in here a little bit over the fence. We got kind of like, it's actually supposed to kind of be like a brown green, and we have that like light gray roof, right? And so this kind of looks real light gray, especially in the day. So we want to try and contrast against that. So we went with a nice and dark, you can kind of see it. We'll pop the can open, but with a nice little kind of granite charcoal gray. And let's get something, open that up, and we can take a peek. Bang. So real nice dark gray, as you can see. And that's what we're going to be redoing this. Now we have Pittsburgh Paints, PPG Paints, Distinction. And I'll get the color once I remember. I think it's actually on the label. But we went with the satin. Didn't really want to do an eggshell or anything. I feel like that's more of an interior thing. Although I think this might have been actually like an eggshell previously because it's got a little bit of texture and stuff to it. So that might have been the case previously. But I just want a nice smooth satin to go over top. Like I said, I feel like eggshell is a little bit of an interior color. And does it tell us glazed granite? There's the color code. But yeah, this is what we got. Mixed it up for us. Nice. Very nice. So I'm thinking 1 gallon should be enough. Especially, it says it should be 1 coat. We can touch up and do 2 coats if we need to. But I think 1 gallon should be enough for these bits and bobs and the wood that we have. Again, we're going to do all our cuts before we paint. And then... then we'll paint everything. That way we're not painting any extra or whatever, because some of the stuff we may cut, we may want to use for something else or whatever if we have some bits and bobs left over. And I do have some extra wood, so we actually probably will end up returning some. So I don't want to just paint it all before we do any cuts or get anything together. But yeah, we're going to wait on the sandpaper, hopefully finish that up, and then we'll be good to go. I also do want to give a little thanks to everybody who watched the last video. For those of you that don't know, I had a podcast and did a little bit of YouTube a couple years ago. Before publishing the last video, I actually took a few videos down. They're just older, a few years ago. Haven't done anything for a couple years now. So I do appreciate everybody checking in, everybody following or subscribing. Make sure you do that, please. Helps a lot and lets me know that you are interested in this kind of stuff, because again, I want to do this as a whole mini series for this little bit of project. We have some things in the backyard that we're looking at doing that, you know, might be some opportunity for some more. And we do have a project in the works all the way over in Michigan for a friend of mine. They have a lake cabin that we want to renovate. So stay tuned. That would be a lot of fun to do. We'll be doing so much in that. I won't get into too much details on that just yet. You know, I want to make sure they're okay with, you know, filming everything and everything like that. But that could be a super fun project to, you know, film, record, and put together and put out for you guys to watch. I know a lot of people like DIY stuff, and you know, it's not what I do as a day job. I have done construction. You know, I grew up working on a farm and everything, so you know, I'm used to doing a lot of this stuff. So you know, it's a happy place. It's something, you know, I've learned over the years. I've gotten good at, you know, learned from the right people, learned from family and everything. And you know, it's some of the best memories, as much as I might have complained and whined about it at the time. But I truly do love it. And again, I work for a building material supplier. Have done for the last few years. And while I don't work in the stores anymore, doing, you know, takeoffs and selling large home projects and decks and everything like that, you know, it is nice to stay connected to that side of the world in the building industry, because it's so important, especially with housing market and everything. You know, building's huge and everybody needs something done somewhere. And, you know, it's nice to just be able to learn how to do some things, or do some things yourself if you can. And so that's kind of another reason why I'm putting these videos together, is to kind of show a little bit of what I know, do something nice, kind of record the process, because it's fun for me to film, edit. I enjoy it a lot, always have. You know, so it's really nice to be able to do, and instead of just sitting at a desk all day long like I do now, it's nice to be able to get out, work with your hands, do something I actually truly do enjoy anymore. And yeah, so thank you so much to everybody who's interacting, you know, watching, subscribing, you know, interacting with the posts and everything. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. You know, might not be a lot of people right now, but everything matters to me, you know. So I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I hope you enjoy it. So leave a like or leave a comment, any suggestions or anything. Again, I'm not a professional, so I'm always up for learning new things. Or if you want to show me something, feel free to drop me a DM or whatever. Really do appreciate it. And yeah, so hopefully, again, we get our sandpaper and we can get back to it. So we're going to hold tight, wait till then, and go from there. Ba-ba-da-bum! We're saved! Yay! We have more sandpaper, yes. Finish up very nice. Thank you all. Yep. You make the video. Oh, it's my charger. Thank you. Yeah, we just got this little bit left, and then I have the post out front, and then it's all prepped and ready to be painted. What color are you gonna paint? And then it's like a dark granite gray called glazed granite. But yeah, and then I gotta cut and make all the railings and everything, and then we'll put it all together. But yeah, very nice. Thank you very much. Come again sometime. Thank you. Bye-bye. Get out of my garage. Oh, I blocked the sensor for the light. I can't lock you out.